What's good, everybody? Major news coming out of Philadelphia this morning. Official Matvei Michkov coming over to North America to play for the Philadelphia Flyers next year. Welcome in, everybody. Flyers A2D. Flyers talk A2D. Look at that. I'm all excited. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. I'm excited. Lots to talk about. Obviously, we got a lot of Michkov to talk about tonight. We got a lot of Stanley Cup Game 7 to talk about. We got the inductees of the Hall of Fames that released earlier this afternoon. I actually have the list of that, so we'll kind of break that down towards the end of the show. Like I said, got a lot to talk about. So we're going to hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you're on Facebook, hit that share. If you're on X, hit that retweet. It's time to talk some Flyers puck. Let's go.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of Flyers Talk A2D right here on A2DRadio.com. I am Matt Cinsudi, along with the Dark Wing, Brian Daly.
Found this old gem today. Figured I'd pull it out for the show.
There we
are. Y'all
are.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Cheers, fam.
Hell yeah. And the broken one himself, Rob Povia.
It feels like fun has been brought back to Philadelphia Flyers hockey. Let's go.
And we have Mr. Blue Shirt, Mr. Broadway, Mr. Switzerland, Big Bad Brad Ryer.
In the words of the immortal Al Bundy, let's rock.
All right. And we welcome you once again to Flyers Talk A2D with a lot to talk about. We are brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy. If you got any aches and pains that have been building up for a little bit because of, a little too much stress on the body, then you want to go to Dr. Paul Vidal at SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. Make an appointment there. And then head either to Cherry Hill or Burlington, New Jersey. They've got great crews on both locations. And you will come out of there feeling brand new after a few sessions. And you'll be back to it before you know it. So, our poll question is, Michkov heading to Philly will change the landscape of the rebuild. Agree or disagree? Obviously, the big news today, Matvei Michkov is officially coming to Philadelphia. His contract with SKA has officially been terminated, and he will be in an orange and black jersey come September. So, gentlemen, does this change the rebuild? Does this push the fast forward button on it? Does it stay where it's at currently and continues floating along? What do you guys feel? Do you feel that we're still in the same boat, or do you feel like we just advanced our rebuild several years?
Let me just jump in right away and say, of course, this advances the rebuild and changes the landscape. I 1,000% agree with this because it really just plain and simple makes Danny B look like a genius. Taking a shot on this guy that a lot of teams passed over in last year's draft because of their uncertainty, because they were banking on a minimum of 3 years. Danny B orchestrating Michkov over here before the kid's going to turn 20 years of age, right? To develop in the NHL on the NH level because he doesn't play in the NHL as we talked about in the past. He can get shipped his rights back to the KHL, so he's playing at a premier level, and that's his prerogative. No chance in hell that's coming. Not at all. But
No.
but ultimately, right, this guy, he adds to the strength of this team, and that means this team is so deep at right wing. It makes trading more conducive this offseason now that we know that he's over here in Voorhees, right? Well, not officially, but officially. But the key thing I'll just end on, boys, and I'll give it over to you, Brian, is that as we see this kid who is 19 years of age, not yet 20, right? This kid's going to be elite. It's going to be great, but we need to temper our expectations at first as he adapts to the NHL, as he adapts to life in the United States. It's a big shift. He will be a great player, but let's not get too overhyped on the 19-year-old. If he struggles at first, and I hear anybody yapping, I'm coming for you. Beetlejuice. You know what I mean?
Well said. I wish I knew you were going to do that. I would have pulled it up. Hang on, I'm going to do it anyway. Give me a second. I don't have a mouse like Maddie, so it takes me a minute.
I don't have a mouse.
You don't have a mouse?
No, I'm using my trackpad on my laptop.
Oh, what the hell? You're a lot faster than I am then.
Ah.
Oh boy.
Whatever. Oh God, I'm so hyped up. Like I should probably not be drinking what I'm drinking right now, but it's fine. It'll be all right. I agree with the poll.
Well, we also have some other great news to talk about. Apparently, Expos Hockey Nerd just got great news. Me and my girlfriend are expecting our firstborn this Friday on the draft. Well, congratulations to you, sir. Good for you and your girlfriend. Good for you.
Get it.
So,
Congratulations.
I mean, he already got it, but I mean, just
still, though, very happy
Mom
for you guys welcoming in your firstborn.
Love it.
All
Love
right,
it,
so before we move forward, Swoopy's saying, no, don't rush the rebuild just because of Michkov. No, please no. Yes, he is a key piece to all of this, but don't allow him to make them change their plans of focusing on a rebuild. Keep the rebuild intent and focus going. All right, so now I believe Robbie was the only one who threw out his. So who wants to go next? Brad, Bri, who wants to go?
Ooh, pick me. I really should not be drinking an energy drink right now. I really shouldn't. I'm so hyped up
I
right
swear, if you cut your camera and then you turn it back on, you're going to be on the ceiling like one of those Japanese ghosts, just doing the show from up there instead of
kind of like
being
what,
seated.
crawling from all the way back there.
Yeah,
just on the ceiling. Drop right down. All right. So I'm going to agree with the poll. I think it does change the landscape of the rebound or the rebuild. Now, that being said, to Swoop's comment, that doesn't mean they're going to rush it. So what that means is it's going to make somebody more expendable to a trade if he comes over and he starts, performing really well right out of the gate, which is nice because he's going to have time to get acclimated to the game. He may not make it to the developmental camp, but he's going to have plenty of time to get on the ice, know his teammates, know the system, get used to the ice, get used to everything around him, just the North American game in general. Now, what Rob said, I agree with 1,000%. As excited as we all should be, we have to temper expectations. He is 19. He's coming over from the KHL. We've seen two guys come over from there already and not look too great in the North American game. And that is Koloslav struggled a little bit in the AHL. Fedotov did not look great in his small sample size with the Flyers. Good news for Fedotov is he's going to have a full training camp to be able to rebound. So that's the plus side there. With Michkov, got to kind of temper the same expectations. Maybe the beginning of the year is going to be a little bit slower. I don't think they're going to move him off the NHL roster at any point. I think he's here. He's going to play. He's going to get the time. Question is, who are you going to put with him? And we can talk about that a little bit more later on in the show, but who are you going to put with him? Who's going to help him take that next step and become a really good NHL superstar, an elite NHL level superstar? Free agency, stay the course. Don't sign anybody. We still have a lot of money. You got like $5 million, maybe $6 million. It's not really going to get you anybody good. Maybe you bring in some veteran leadership, some depth guys, depth forwards that can be a good locker room guy for Michkov. Bring in a seventh defenseman who can really help these guys, younger guys, take the next step. Guys like that, go after. Go for the big fish next year.
Right. John saying, isn't the rink bigger over in Russia than it is? Yes, it
Mhm.
is bigger in all the European hockey leagues than it is here in North America. We got
Comes
Mike.
at you quick.
Yeah. What's up,
When you come
Mike?
here.
Yeah, it does. Priz saying, what's up to the fearsome four checkers? What's up, Priz? Hope you're doing
Priz.
well, brother. Raska's here. And he's saying that the Florida Panthers will win the Stanley Cup next year and then win their third back-to-back Eastern Conference titles, making a bold prediction for next season. But I feel like Raska makes a lot of bold predictions, so it's very normal. Yaba, what's up, bro? Haven't seen you in a minute. He said they need to get rid of TK.
Oh no.
Do you? No. Let's keep TK around. Benny's saying, "What's up? What's up, Benny?" And Spoopy does go on to say in one of his paragraph comments, saying, we saw Lindros didn't change the landscape of this franchise. Keep rebuilding and building through youngsters and make this team into a young franchise. Vets as guys who will be locker room guys, but not the ones running the team. They need to completely be a young franchise. Don't be depending upon vets or start trading for and signing vets.
You need that.
It's the thing too about Lindros is that when the Flyers got him, they were hoping that they could just hotshot their way back into the playoffs, and albeit it was a smaller league back then, so the possibility of doing that was a lot more probable than it is now. But at the same token, they did kind of do the hot shouting anyway because they went and traded for John LeClaire and Eric Desjardins. They traded Mark Recchi away, and they made a few other adjustments here and there to bring in other players like a Pat Falloon and a Joel Otto. So they did eventually start hot-shotting it when Lindros got here, when they didn't make the playoffs the first couple attempts that they were really making a push for it there. But can't say we didn't get any benefits out of that. It was a very good run the Flyers had during that time period. He also says no long-term deals with vets or giving up on the future. Yes, they'll need vets, but don't be full of them or start making moves at positions that the team has up-and-coming players at. Okay. So, got Don Don also saying, what's up? What's up, Don Don?
What's up, D?
Twitter fam, X fam, whatever you call it. I don't want to call it X fam because then it feels like they're like excommunicated. No.
Yeah, also says, if no trades, Frost and Tippett on his line for Michkov.
Okay. I mean, there's lots of young talent. You got Forrester, you got Bobby Brink. You know what I mean? The key thing is that, you gotta balance it out, left wing and right wing. You know what I mean? How they fit. That'll be interesting.
Absolutely. And Mike is saying rebuild around Michkov with top tier prospects and talent and make sure not to rush the process. He also says give TK a 5-year deal. Benny's Nation says Frost will get a chance on a line with Mitch.
Yes, I like this. Even LJ, I saw you put that on there. You can't put Tippett on the same line. They're both right wingers. I can't do that. But yes, Frost, and I would put Lawton on the same line too. Lawton is a very good playmaker, very good leader, very good guy to have on the same line to teach a young kid. And we saw at the end of the year, Frost can do a lot with that puck. So if he can find the open ice and then he can find an open Michkov, there's gonna be a lot of goals scored on that line. Especially with the way Lawton plays his game, his style. He's dirty in the corners, plays a physical game as well. He's a bit of a gritty player, so he's going to open up space. So if the Flyers can find ways to get Frost and Michkov off and open, there's going to be a lot of goals scored between those two.
The only problem there is that Michkov is a very fast skater. I don't know if he can keep up with him. Lawton, that is.
Well, I mean, if
you put a skater, a guy who's not that fast, with two fast guys, that doesn't always work. I mean, you got to have somebody that's got a little bit more speed out there. Why wouldn't you want to try to see if Tippett could play center?
Because he's
just
not a
out of
center.
curiosity.
He's a winger.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he can't play center.
He's not going to play center. He's always been a winger. He's been a winger from the moment he started playing hockey.
And he's a right-handed shot, but he can play left wing though. He can play it. So I'm not here to dismiss that because he played on the left a lot with Frost, and Bobby Brink on the right. So that could be interesting where you move Brink and pair him with Forrester, and now you have a good set of left and right wingers, right? Or immediately, depending on, like I said, you got to pump the brakes. You got to give this guy reasonable minutes as he acclimates to the North American game too. So I wouldn't put it past them possibly having Hathaway who plays center ice. Guy that could skate fast and be a good big body, clear space to allow Michkov to do his thing.
Maybe Ryan Poehling could be a good one too.
Maybe.
Poehling, yeah.
Swoopy here saying, do you guys see the Flyers trading young prospects who may not have a certain style of game or skill Torts looks for in return for other young prospects that do have the style that Torts looks for?
No. They didn't make a lot of trades last year. I don't see him making a lot of trades this year unless it's to freeing up cap space.
If they could upgrade the team, yes.
Okay.
If they feel that it's going to upgrade the team or it's going to upgrade a position of need, perhaps. But I mean, if I'm the Flyers right now, you don't really need to do all that much as far as veterans and everything else. Just stay the course. You've made the commitment. The kid's coming over. He's going to get a chance in training camp to play with everybody. Whoever he has the chemistry with is going to be where he starts the season with. But keep in mind, it's a long season. He could end up playing with a lot of different combinations.
It's true. John's throwing out the Forrester Frost Michkov line, which I just thought of this line name because my brain is weird and it works like this. What if you called that line the Frosty Forest Man? Imagine that for like 2 seconds. You have all of the names covered.
Fire and Ice.
I like Fire and Ice better. I feel
Probably
like the other one
Fire
kind
and
of sounds like a
See, mine was a goofy
inappropriate
line.
movie title.
Yes, right? But you see, wouldn't that just be hilarious? Because that'd be such a Philadelphia thing to do. To have a weird name for a line. Yet, watch it be like the best line in hockey and we're all just shitting on everybody. That would be a pleasant thing. But anyway.
Fun.
And let's see. Mike's saying Hershey Bears won the Calder Cup. Yep. And they've won back-to-back now, apparently. So they repeated as Calder Cup champions. And, of course, for those who may not know, the Hershey Bears actually are the most successful franchise in the history of the AHL. They have the most Calder Cups out of any team that's existed in that league.
Like every other year, but...
Right? It's like, the Hershey Bears won the Calder Cup, and the sky is blue. What other... Yeah, what other... earth-shattering news do you have for me?
the U.S. Steel of the AHL.
Yeah. So let's see here. I believe, Brad, you do have to still go. But before you do, I do have a question that I'd like for you to answer. And chat, feel free to throw out your opinions on this. And gentlemen, we'll give ours first. Mike threw out, what's a funnier hockey name? Ron Schlongs or Robert Sachs?
Like Robert Sachs is a better football name.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was more favoring the Schlongs.
Yeah.
In this
I'm
one.
sure you were.
Well, the Schlongs are funnier.
Right.
They are.
Whenever you go with a funnier hockey name for like a fantasy team or whatever, you can never go wrong with Peter North Stars. It's the best.
All right. So, Brad, do you agree or disagree to the poll?
I don't think it's going to change the landscape all that much, to be honest with you. I think that he's going to add to the team, of course. Okay, but I think the Flyers are just going to stay the course. They're going to try. They're going to spend the season bringing in a lot of young talent, getting everything entrenched, and then and see who they want to keep for the following year, and then when they have some cap space, then they're going to go for it. But the important thing is to get these young kids playing time, get them experience playing together, and then going from there. I think that would be the best thing for them to do at this point.
Brad, one name I saw in the chat, I believe was from Benny, was like, do the Flyers make a run at Leon Draisaitl, either in trade or as a free agent in 25-26 next offseason, as more money falls off the books and as the cap's rising? Would Leon Draisaitl be a name that the Flyers should go for?
Well, in 25-26, look, you see what the situation is. I don't think Edmonton's going to ever let him go, to be honest with you.
I mean,
but does Draisaitl want to leave there?
He's already said he's testing free agency once his contract's up.
Well, testing it is one thing. Actually signing with another team, though.
He wants longevity.
Yeah. No, I
And
understand.
he can't offer that.
True, but the question is, what about McDavid? See, I always think Draisaitl is lost without McDavid. That's just my opinion. I know he's a great player, but you know what? You take him away from McDavid, and McDavid is still going to be great. I don't know about Draisaitl being your number one option.
Just put him with somebody else. I mean, yeah, McDavid's going to make anybody around him better, and he has. He's made Zach Hyman a 50 freaking goal scorer. Like Zach Hyman. Like Hyman's always been a good player, but he's been out of his mind since he left for Edmonton.
That's my point, though. That's my whole point.
Well, Leon Draisaitl was a different style of player, though.
When McDavid was injured, Draisaitl went 7 games without a point. So I'm just making the case that be careful with Draisaitl.
You'd have the speed to go with Michkov, though. You'd have the speed.
He does. He does. I don't know who else is going to be available next year, though. I haven't really checked.
I'm a firm believer the ultimate center iceman for Michkov isn't maybe on the Flyers team yet. They want to see what they got in this kid, and you see tape. You want to see it here and how it translates, and then give him what he needs. Because this is definitely a building block.
I agree. I think you're going to need somebody with a lot of speed, though, to play with him.
I gotta ask you guys this question. So how much cap is the Flyers going to get off the books?
At least $20 million. They're getting $12 million between 4 players, and they got a bunch more players coming off next year. You're probably looking close to 20.
See,
plus whatever else it goes up.
Here's the thing. My question is, how much length does Draisaitl want? Because he's going to want length. That's what you were talking about, Bri.
He's going to want
He wants 8 years.
He
wants 8 years, and he probably wants max salary on top of that. So I'm going to say no.
8 for 90.
I wouldn't even, because if Draisaitl even hints that he wants a nice gigantic salary to go along with his 8 years, I'm telling him to hit the bricks, because I'm thinking bigger picture here. And I'm thinking, like, what about these other guys we got? Because some of them are still going to need to get paid. And when Michkov is ready, if he blows up and becomes a phenom, he's going to need to get paid. And if you've got yourself tied to a Draisaitl contract that's killing you, you're not going to be able to pay him. So that's my biggest concern with Draisaitl, because he made a lot of money in Edmonton. He's probably going to want to make a lot of money wherever else he's going. He's
probably going to be his last contract too.
Right.
It's definitely going to be his last contract.
So that's the other thing too. And
he's going to want to cash in. I mean, that's
right. I mean, you definitely want to do that, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, if this was back before we had a salary cap, or if we had a luxury tax, I'd say, yeah, go for it. Go for it. Who cares? You don't have any real repercussions down the road to worry about. But now that we have a salary cap, I feel like that would have been a move that you could have gotten away with in the early 2000s. I'm not so sure right now.
And maybe it's old school thinking, Maddie. Maybe it's old school thinking of giving big contracts. You want to stop doing that and instead draft a team and let kids grow and play together.
Right.
Develop together,
Right.
I pick up what you're putting down.
Right. And here's the thing. You can get veterans, but when you're feeling like, okay, they've come a very far way, they've developed a lot, we need a couple of things here and there, and then we're golden. Then we've got everything locked down solid. But that's when you got to make a judgment call of when you feel that you're comfortable with that. Obviously, the Flyers aren't there yet. They're not at that level where it's like, okay, they've developed far enough to where, okay, we now can start looking at other players in the free agency to kind of add the pieces necessary to finish this team and go for it. We're not at that stage yet.
I got a question, though.
Yes, Bri.
Who's your dynamic number one center right now?
Right now? There really
you gotta
is.
think about it. Yeah. That's why you go after Draisaitl and you give him what he wants. You have no dynamic center. He's a dynamic center. You put the right guys around him, he will perform. He looked very lackluster in the Stanley Cup Finals because the guy was playing with a broken finger, which is going to affect everything you do with the stick. And apparently he had broken ribs too. So that's going to just affect your game overall, period. Every time you take a bump, you're wincing. So he was very, what's the word? Not there for the Stanley Cup Final. Maybe that was why. But you need a dynamic playmaker at center to go with Michkov. If you want to put Tippett on the left wing and have Mitchie on the right and Draisaitl up the middle, that's a great line. That's going to produce a lot of points. But you have to, at some point, you're going to have to make a splash and you're going to have to sign somebody to be a dynamic center. Not saying that there's nobody in the system right now that can fill that whole void. Sean Couturier is not that guy anymore. Granted, he did have sports hernia at the end of the year, so we'll see how he kind of steps back up this year. Hopefully he can be healthy all season long. But I don't see Sean Couturier as a number one center anymore. I don't. Not after what he showed me last year. I mean, good for him for playing the majority of the season. Like, I genuinely commend that. But you need a dynamic center. You need dynamic players to surround Michkov. You can't just put guys around him and expect him to perform. Again, maybe Brad's right. Maybe Draisaitl is only as good as he is because of McDavid. Maybe he's not. He said he wants to test free agency. He wants to check out the Eastern Conference teams. We'll see what happens.
Let me ask you guys a question.
But that's another concern of mine because it's like, hold on, Brad. Hold on. Get right to you in just a sec. But that's another thing that really concerns me. If there's even a slight doubt that it's like, okay, is it because of McDavid or is it because he's really that good? And the problem is, like, do you really want to give him an 8-year big contract to find out the hard way that, oh, crap, he's not as good as he could have been? He's okay. He's solid, but that's not 8 years worthy solid. Like, that is another thing that really haunts me because we all know that the Flyers have done this in the past. Make a big investment on a guy where he's got all this going around him. He comes over to Philly, and he's okay. He is adequate. He is decent at his position. He's decent at his game. It was because of somebody else that his numbers went up. Damn it, we did it again. We fucked ourselves in the ass again with another bad contract. And that's just not something I want to see the Flyers do again because that's going to have even worse repercussions again than it did last time.
He's different level, Matty. I have no doubt in my mind that this dude is exactly who he is, whether he has McDavid or not.
I mean, if they get him, I pray to God your words are right. I really do. But it's just I've through this recent history, my deal with big names is really my love for them has fallen off a cliff into a chasm. And it may never come back. So it's like, big name, don't want him.
That's all he's got to do. He's just got to pass the puck. He's a playmaking center. That's all he's got. He doesn't have to shoot. He doesn't need to have 40, 50 goals.
That's fine.
70 assists. Give me 75 assists. Give Michkov 40, 50 goals.
That's fine.
That's all you got to do. So that's all I would ever want from Draisaitl is to be a playmaker, a guy with great vision, a guy who's going to set Michkov up to be successful in this organization. And real quick, before we do that, you know what else is really good for an organization? Hitting hitting that subscribe, turning on the notifications. Never miss a thing that A2D does.
Absolutely.
Gonna hit that like, gonna hit that subscribe, gonna hit that bell. You can do that on Facebook, X, YouTube, which I'm currently kind of sitting in the chat in. So if you guys want to keep talking, I'm in the chat. Pretty sure Robbie's in the chat as well. So keep everything coming, guys. Let's go.
It's four dudes on the screen talking hockey, but it's the fam together. That's what's beautiful about what we do here at A2D. This is not experts talking down to an audience. This is a family having an open conversation, and you taking this show wherever you want it to go.
Right? How many times have we gone off the rails because the fan wants to talk about something hilarious, and it sure enough takes up 90% of the show. Almost every time. Benny's saying, how much of an impact does Mitch coming over this year have an impact on the Flyers? Going with their first pick in this year's draft, do they make a move to take a center, or do they address the D?
For me personally, I like the prospectus now that you know Michkov's coming over, and now you have a firm tally on the plethora of right wingers. I am all for making a trade and trading up in this draft and getting yourself the young pup center, right? And then that way, whatever happens next offseason, whether you sign TK or go for a guy like Draisaitl, because you're not getting both. It's going to be one or the other, right? At least you got that young center in the pipeline that could be that elite partner to Michkov, potentially.
Go get Berkeley. Go get him.
Yeah.
Get up to 7.
I'm for it. I'm here for it. I'm here for it, Brian.
Bring Chikrin with him. Let's go.
But if they stay at 12, I think the pick is Yakimchuk, without a doubt, and then you're solidifying your D. So it's a no-lose situation for the geniusry, the evil geniusry that is Danny B, and that smug smile when he knew the whole time Michkov was coming at his presser. Like, oh my God, it's just the ultimate burn. Everybody, I saw all the Flyers beat writers and former beat writers like Charlie O'Connor, like just being like that look when Danny B knows the whole time, and it's just the pairing of him and Keith Jones. It's just such a tactful way, and people maybe dismiss the hockey intelligence of Keith Jones because he likes to talk it up with the boys and he's got that friendly persona, but he's a schmoozer, and he too is part of this geniusry, this evil geniusry that it's a word now for the Philadelphia Flyers.
I love it. The reason why I listen, if you don't move up, you stay at 12. I'm with you, Rob, because this kid, I'm telling you, if Yakimchuk is there at 12, you absolutely do take him. Main reason. Sealer's contract should be up by the time he's ready. There should be another defenseman. I'm blanking on who it is right now, but his contract should be up by the time he's ready. So just imagine him in 2 years on that back line, on that blue line.
Okay, guys, you want to hear some of the top free agents in 2025, 26?
Sure.
Is that the Draisaitl? You got Sid, Marner, Mikko Rantanen. Mikko Rantanen wouldn't be a bad fit either, by the way.
True.
Tavares, Draisaitl, Claude Giroux, Brock Besser, Brad Marchand, Konecny. Those are the top forwards.
The moment you said Giroux, I was just like, oh boy, here we go. They're going to bring Giroux back. Which, to be honest, if he's going to work with Michkov, I am absolutely down with that because Giroux would take a friendly contract and he would be great for Michkov's development, honestly. Could you imagine the media behind that? Whew.
Yeah, that would be an interesting arrangement there. Now, defense, Victor Hedman. He's a pretty good player. Ekblad, Provorov, Shea Theodore, Jacob Chikrin. So there's some guys out there. Boy, the goalies
have expressed interest in Chikrin before.
Mm-hmm. Still do.
With the goalies, oh boy. Hopefully this isn't the case, but Igor, Olmark, and Soros are all free agents after next season.
Well,
I don't think we're worried about goaltending. Nor
I
should
mean-
they be.
I'm just mentioning who's in the right
I
there.
mean, if Igor says screw it to the Rangers and he's willing to come to the Flyers, be like, oh, well, okay. I guess that definitely helped our rebuild.
I think Igor's gonna sign at this, his extension after July 1st, because that's when you can start negotiating with guys in their last year. So I think they'll
I
pay him.
got you.
But I'm just making a point who's available. That's all. That's all.
Right.
There,
But that's
there are some
Enjoy
real
that
good
$12 million
players.
cap hit.
So would you rather have Mikko Rantanen instead?
Mikko ain't leaving Colorado.
Huh?
Mikko ain't leaving Colorado.
I would say to me it all depends on with the way I'm looking at it, it's like it depends on length and it depends on salary. It's like how much does he want? How long does he want to be here? Like the length is okay. That's something, but it's the salary that's of course the sticking point. It's just like, okay, because we got to keep ourselves in mind. Young players on this team, some of them haven't been paid yet, and they're going to need to get paid. So it's like that kind of puts you in a position of where you're not in the position to say, well, okay, we can cover that. That's not the end of the world, because if you got players blowing it up and then all of a sudden their ELC's coming up and you gotta pay them, it's like, shit. Now we gotta find we gotta do some cap gymnastics here, and that's not what you want to do when he gets that third year.
Just an example, Matt. What's his name? Kucherov on Tampa Bay right now. It has an 8-year, $77 million contract that he just signed. Okay, he got paid at the beginning of this season.
He did all right.
So that's what nine. That's like around $9.5 million a year. Okay,
Yeah.
So you can start there for Draisaitl.
Yeah. Okay. That, because of how much the Flyers would have available to them, if you do that, that may not be the end of the world. That seems more manageable than doing something where you start drifting into double digits in the millions there. That's when it becomes a problem.
Thing I just wonder though is that's a tax. There's the tax situation too of him playing in Florida.
True.
So we've had this conversation before. What would it cost him? I mean, the Florida teams have an unfair advantage when it comes to the salary cap, because once you start talking about $7-8 million, there's like a $2 million a year difference. It's because of the taxes. So that's a situation. What you'd hope for is one of these guys would want to play here, and they might.
I mean, it's not unheard of for a player wanting to come to Philadelphia because of the fact that, you have a younger team with a new culture that's really developing into something.
And a very passionate fan base.
Yeah. And
you have all these young players. Some of these guys might want to come.
Maybe.
Maybe a John Tavares could come on a reduced salary, and that wouldn't be a bad guy. You might be able to get him maybe for 3 years, $15 million at that point.
As long as Tavares can figure out what clutch goal scoring is again, that would be the one thing that he needs to do.
This is true. But that's a guy that could definitely have skill level wise.
Oh yeah, skill level's still there. Yeah.
Right.
So here we have the image of Michkov showing up that he will be here in Philadelphia next season. And
if you notice on the bottom, that's him liking it too.
Nice.
That's to our esteemed guy behind the guy.
Nice.
Yeah, he'll be signed by July 1st.
That didn't do what I wanted it to do.
What did you want it to do?
I wanted to stay on Poves. I wasn't ready for mine.
Well, that was
just
the
trying to set
official
it up.
statement. That was the news that broke earlier today that had "Let's Go Flyers" trending on X. So I was like, I was like, Danny B, you sandbagging son of a bitch.
Of course, this is the statement here. Flyers were informed that the SK Hockey Club had terminated his contract. And, of course, he says, we are certainly excited. Yeah, I'm sure, Danny. We are certainly excited to learn of this news and look forward to reconnecting with Matvei's representatives in the coming days. And additionally, we are appreciative of SKA St. Petersburg for allowing Matvei Michkov to pursue his dream of playing in the NHL. Well, can't say that Danny can't be a politician either. So there you go.
We also have a statement from Matvei from TSN, as you can see on the top of there. I got this one on X via Flyers Nitty Gritty, who got it via TSN. Make sure everybody gets their credit. And Yarav Wallach was the one from Flyers Nitty Gritty who did post it. So again, I want to make sure everybody gets their credit.
Nice.
So he goes to say, after much thought, I decided to try my hand at the NHL. I would like to say a huge thank you to the SKA management for being cooperative in this manner. I immediately outlined my position that I want to play in the KHL only for SKA. No exchanges or loans. I will make my way to the NHL, but if I return to the KHL, I will only play in St. Petersburg. The decision was not easy, but I felt it was the right one. I am full of strength and desire to prove that I am worthy of playing there. In addition, this was a long-term dream of my father. He really wanted to see my debut in the NHL, and for me, it is extremely important to take this step. Also, for his sake, I'm sure he would support me in this. Thanks to Roman Rottenberg for believing in me, inviting me to SKA, and giving me every opportunity to develop and improve my game. Thanks to all the coaches, players, staff with whom I've worked, played, and won here. And of course, thanks to our fans. I'm sure we'll meet again. See you, St. Petersburg.
All right. So excitement definitely coming through big time here. And of course, congratulations to Michkov for being able to get the opportunity to come here and play. I know obviously it was a long debate on whether or not he'd be able to come over. And now that he's here and now that he's got the opportunity, wish him the best for it, because it is the best league in the world in hockey. It's also the toughest league in the world to make it in. But hey, I believe in the kid, and I think everybody else should.
I would think so. How many points do you guys think he's going to get this year?
Mitchkov, I'd be happy with 50.
Well, let's hold on a second. Did I start? Let me see. I thought I starred. No. Swoopy's comments, I think he said he had like 22 goals, I think he said. About 44 points, something around that range.
In how many games?
27.
I think in the full 82. I think that's what he was going by for that, basically.
He only played in 27 in the previous year.
And he had 22.
I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
That was his stats. Oh, okay. I thought he was doing a prediction stat. I didn't realize he was doing he was throwing out the actual stats there. Okay.
He could. I think he could get. You get 60 out of him.
Maybe. Benny's Nation is saying 55.
I'd be happy with 55.
I would be
That's
very
a good starting
happy.
point. I mean,
I would think he would be.
I think most people would be.
Look at Zegras.
25 goals, 30 assists.
Look at Zegras. Zegras is still a young pup. He still has a lot of growing to do, and he's already plateaued the 60-point mark twice. That's a good number, especially for a young kid making his first couple years in the league known.
Oh, as a teenager, it's spectacular.
And Spoopy's saying 22 goals and 40 assists is what he's predicted.
I take it.
So let's see. Spoopy's saying, wow, look at Brian being on a good side with Michkov, but also on the bad side with Cutter, as well as a good side. My goodness, what a time for Brian.
Listen, if they get Michkov's buddy in the draft, I'm just gonna die laughing. Game over. I quit. Life is over. If Demidov winds up being taken at 3, it's going to be something special for Anaheim, especially if they can hold on to Zegras. But I think Zegras is going to be gone up by the draft.
And let's see here. Prism is throwing out 27 goals, 47 assists for 70 points and a Calder trophy. So he is predicting a spectacular debut season for one Matvei Michkov. I mean, that is so bright.
Pump the brakes.
Like,
I love it.
Not what I thought we were doing. Sorry.
No,
I
was
thought
like,
we were eating.
I was more like you were doing Jey Uso. Meanwhile, I'm busy like, oh god, the light is too damn bright right now for that. Holy shit!
What are you trying to say? I'm pasty?
No, I mean you are, but still.
That's
I
definitely
know, that's
the pot
Rich
calling the kettle black.
I know that's Rich coming from me. What the ginger here at A2D Radio. So
Okay, you
Sorry,
guys,
but
you want to compare?
yeah.
You want to compare an interesting comparison? Evgeny Malkin, first season with Pittsburgh. Okay, 33 goals, 52 assists.
wow.
As a 20-year-old player.
That is the ceiling. It's not unfathomable that it could work out like that, but
Yeah, no, I
just saying,
didn't realize he
pump
had
the
that
brakes on
many
the
points.
expectation. Yeah, I am
In his
surprised to hear that
season,
too. I am surprised to hear that too.
That's unbelievable. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Oh, I
His
mean,
first
playing with
season
Sid
to
too.
have that kind of a season. Maybe you're looking at that.
Yeah, but
Tell you what, you get that
the
kind of a
Flyers
season,
currently
you might
have
even make the playoffs.
the Flyers don't currently have that Sidney Crosby though yet
Mm-hmm.
to set him up for goals. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So that's what I'm just saying. Like, plus, I mean, could he adjust like that? The ceiling is absolutely there, Brad. But I'm just saying, in terms of expectations, I just don't want to hear people start to turn and be like, "Oh, we thought this kid was supposed to be all this good, and now he's only throwing up 45, 50 points in his first season," and then start to detract from, because it's the naysayers that make my stomach turn and really kill the momentum for an organization from the fan base out. You gotta temper expectations as a young player coming over the North that's going to be playing. I mean, look at a previous top round, first number one pick for the Rangers, and Ian, LaPerriere. He didn't.
Lafreniere, it took
Lafreniere,
Lafreniere 4 years to have a breakout season.
Right.
And this year he had 28 and I think he had 28 goals and 32 assists. I think he had 60 points this year, if I'm not mistaken. Could be a little more. I think maybe he had 59 or 50, something like that. Or maybe he had 29 goals. I can't remember exactly. It was right around between 27 and 29. But it took him 4 years, and it took him playing with Panarin and Trocheck to do that. So it's not, everybody is different. We'll see what happens, but the guy obviously has enough talent. You could be looking at Malkin. Who knows?
And that's Rob's point, though. Like, the point is just let's temper expectations. What will be over the next couple of years.
Absolutely.
I mean, the development of this kid is more important than the stats that he puts up. Should the stats come? That's great. But this kid has to get acclimated to a game he's never played before, or a style of game that he's never played before.
Smaller ice surface.
It's just a faster game. It's a faster game. So he's got to adjust to that. So I agree. Let's temper expectations. And what will be. And let's let the kid develop. And we put as much talent around him as we possibly can and see what happens with him. I believe this kid is something special. He's a generational talent. The Flyers are incredibly lucky to have him. Incredibly lucky to have him fall at 7. Too many people were saying that he fell to 7 because they were never sure how fast he was going to come over. He came over quick. The Flyers won this. Just let him develop. Whatever his point total is at the end of the year, his point total is going to be at the end of the year. Just let him develop.
So, what's up, Tommy? Obviously, a lot of hype surrounding Michkov. Hopefully, he will turn out to be, the next big thing in Philadelphia and become a huge part of this team's dynamic moving forward, which could very well happen. But we will have to wait and see how he develops over this period of time. And as well, Prism also going on to say, what if Michkov becomes Bure 2.0? Bure was only 5'10 and scored 34 his rookie year. The players who could play in any era saying also applies to skilled players in different pro leagues. True.
Mhm.
And also, Benny Station would like to see a Russian veteran player on this team to help Mitch.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah, you could do that. I mean, there are players out there that you could probably get for relatively easy prices to kind of work with them. But on to, well, since we got 10 minutes left, transition on over to the Stanley Cup Finals. Game 7 has officially concluded. And, well, gentlemen, Pris said, give Radulov a call.
Nah, we're good.
Vital loss.
If he calls us, we'll just send it right to voicemail.
Right. What's up, me metal Mike? So let's take a look here. I did star a few comments here while we go through the breakdown here. Mike did say also, does Boston shoot themselves in the foot trading Allmark to Ottawa?
No.
I don't
Jeremy
think
Swayman's
so.
better.
Swayman's very, very good, and he's younger, and they're fine. I don't think they're worried about it. Ottawa better hope that Allmark turns out to be everything they need him to be and then some. He's got to play maybe even better than he played in Boston if he wants to get Ottawa to where they need to be.
Well, their defense is nowhere near Boston's defense.
Right. So it's going to have to be a big step up from Allmark in order to make that team relevant. Not impossible, just a lot harder. Now, as for Prism, he also said need to find the Hawk Tui girl and have her recruit players.
Why is this girl so popular?
I keep seeing that shit too. I was like, what? I feel like we blew this up out of proportion, don't you think? Just a little bit? But anyway, I've seen
it. Why do we make the most dumbest, most irrelevant shit in the world? The most irrelevant people so popular and so famous for literally dumb shit. I don't get it.
I'm just gonna say now.
That's my grandpa moment, I guess. I don't know.
You know what it is? It's the little thing. It's just those little things in life. I think we could just chalk it up to that. Mike saying move drama in Arizona for hockey. Well, there's gonna be for a while. that just kind of happened so suddenly. So it's going to be a dramatic for a time. I'd love to see a documentary made about the Coyotes. I would really love to see someone do an in-depth documentary on them about how this became a disaster out in Arizona.
30 for 30, it's coming.
Yes. Hell, it might take more than a 30 for 30. You might have one of those Ken Burns documentaries to discuss the Coyotes.
Disaster in the desert.
Well, let's see here.
It would be a horror movie.
Right. John's saying, do you think Ian LePerriere ever makes it to the big club? He's done really good for the Phantoms, but I don't know. I feel like he's really comfortable in the player development area. He's been there for years.
He had his shot with the big club. It did not go well.
Well, he's the assistant coach. Yeah.
He ran the PK, and they had one of the worst PKs.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
They did just renew his contract. They like what he's doing, but that's key. Is that do they like him down there working in player development on the AHL level, right? And ultimately down the road, I mean, you're with the organization long enough. You know, I would ultimately be open to giving him a shot as the head coach. You know what I mean? Kind of like a Scott Gordon type of situation.
Which is interesting because Scott Gordon actually he kind of turned the team around, even though they didn't make the playoffs. But they actually were a little bit better when he was behind the bench. Anyway,
well, I'd be talking about former. Go ahead with the comment first.
Oh, okay. Mike was saying Flyers get the Florida's late first pick plus the 12th pick. Danny could trade up on Friday.
Yeah,
they're moving one, not both.
I mean, what's that?
I said they're gonna move one, not both.
Yeah, agreed. Though, not in this draft. If it's next year's draft, maybe I could see more of an urgency to move up. But if the right deal comes along and they can shed and trade from a position of strength and move up on Friday. That's what next Friday is going to be key in terms of where this rebuild is heading into the 24-25 season. But talking about former Flyers of that era, Maddie, I read this. First of all, congratulations to Bob for winning the Cup. He becomes the first goalie in NHL history to win his first Stanley Cup after playing 700 plus regular season games. Talking about grinding it out, getting that cup coming all so close last year, and then hitting the promised land this year. There's a lot of firsts in this series.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
First
And
Evan. We have our first Evan.
Perfect transition too, because one former A2D host, David Navo, chiming in, saying Bob and Stolarz got their cup, and that's true. Stoli being the backup as well gets his, and gotta feel like Stoli just has some luck to him. He just winds up at the right place, right time on that one.
I feel like Maddie, me, you, and Robbie all win on the Stolarz one because he played for both of our organizations. So we all win there. We all win there.
Right?
I mean, how does it feel as a Flyer fan, guys, that Bobrovsky, you guys had him when he was a pup.
You're happy for him, but it's like,
you traded him for Steve freaking Mason. I mean,
it was one of those. It was because of Paul Holmgren being a dumb GM. Great player, awful GM. Maybe the worst GM the Flyers have had, if it weren't for Chuck Fletcher. So,
listen, we've all had our cringe-worthy trades. I mean, the Rangers traded Rick Middleton for Ken Hodge, which is just almost as bad. And JT Miller and McDonough for complete garbage that they don't have any that they have nothing to show for now. But boy, oh boy.
I mean, if I remember the situation right, Bob wanted more minutes, but at the time, Brizgalov was a starter.
Right.
Briz wanted the start, or Bob wanted the starting job. He wasn't going to get it, so he demanded his way out. Nothing the Flyers can do about that. There's no sense in hindsight being 2020. Every organization has that. You can't be like, oh man, we could have had him, and what would happen? It's really irrelevant.
To be
fair, what could have been.
To be fair, even if Bob had stayed on the Flyers and had been the goalie this whole time, would the Flyers have even won anything? Because even with him in net, the Flyers still would have had all the problems backstage in the organization, and it still probably would have ended up being where the Flyers may have been a little bit more frustrating to eliminate in the playoffs, but they still wouldn't have won anything in the grand scheme of things, because the team was just structurally not sound during that time period.
And you also got to remember, you just signed Bob to a long-term deal. You just signed Briz to a long-term deal, so you're invested in him. That's your guy. Who's to say that even Bob even develops the way that he did if he doesn't leave Philadelphia? Who's to say he's the goalie that he is right now if he stays in Philadelphia?
Well, Columbus
we can play the double-edged sword game all day.
How about Columbus? How do you think they feel?
He won a vessel for them. I don't think they give a shit.
Well, I mean, they probably would have hoped that they would have won more than just a couple of matchups.
No, I can promise you right now, there's no organization sitting there kicking themselves in the ass saying that, man, we never should have traded this guy. At the time, it was the right move to make. You can't play hindsight. It's completely irrelevant. Because
I'm just wondering
the same thing happens. Flyers could have been worse with Bob. Bob probably would never have been a Vezina Trophy winning goaltender if he had stayed here. We could play this game on both sides. The fact is that Bob didn't want to stay. He wanted the time. He wasn't going to get it, so he left. It is what it is. You can't change the past.
No, I'm just asking what you guys how you guys feel about that. That's all.
I mean, I'm happy for Bob because of just the man clearly just was busting his ass every single night for his teams, both in Columbus and in Florida. So I'm happy he got a cup. I was like, all right, you know what? The man deserved it. He put it all out on the ice, so he did deserve it.
He had, you know what, he was a big time goaltender in the entire Cup playoffs. Yeah, he had a couple of bad games against Edmonton, but Edmonton is a pretty darn good offensive team too. But I mean, he was fantastic against the Rangers. Third period last night, he was tremendous. I mean, he slammed the door on them in the third period. I mean, Edmonton was doing everything in their power to try to get that tying goal, and they just couldn't. They just couldn't score. It seemed like they were never in the right place at the right time for the rebounds or anything else.
Yeah.
Praise. We give Verhaeghe love.
Yeah, and Verhaeghe.
Two-time Stanley Cup champ. Let's go.
And Verhaeghe, of course, scored in Game 7. And I saw that, and I was like, of course Verhaeghe scored. Who else was going to score for the Panthers in the most important game of the season? And
I was expecting Reinhart to score, too, to be quite honest with you. I thought it was time for him to step up, and sure enough, let's be honest, though. The game-winning goal, that was a horrible goal. I mean, Skinner has to make that save. I mean, he was deep in his net. He wasn't covered. He was off balance. He didn't even look like he was square to the shooter.
It's Stuart Skinner.
I know.
That's the one thing you could fall back on. It's Skinner. What else would you expect?
I mean, he made some He did make some spectacular saves, and I'll give him some credit for that. But, geez, that goal was a terrible goal.
Yeah. Mike also saying, how about Connor McDipshit disrespecting the Conn Smythe?
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. He did not disrespect the Conn Smythe. Why? Because he didn't come grab it? Because it's not his moment? Because he's a little upset that he got voted the Conn Smythe instead of Bobrovsky? Granted, McDavid absolutely deserved every bit of that. It's quite a historic run. We may never see that again. Broke Gretzky's record. Basically averaged 2 points a game from game 1 of the playoffs.
Single-handedly pulled Edmonton back into the Stanley Cup final.
Bingo. Game 7 was a little different. Florida finally found their game and they went to work. But for me, the real big difference in Game 7 was the third period. What the hell was Chris Knobloch doing? Why are you playing your top 5 guys for the majority of the period? It's a 1-goal game. You don't need to put them out there every shift. It was absolutely stupid.
What I like to call that?
It was a bonehead play. You let them you rest them as much as you can for the first 10 to 15 minutes. And then after that, then let them go every other shift. Get them out there as often. By the final 3 minutes, those 5 guys were done. You saw it in the final minute. They had nothing left. They kept turning the puck over left and right. How Florida never scored on the open net, I don't know. Not that they really needed to, but
I'm going to call that
stupid.
I'm going to call that hitting the panic button. That's what happened there. Knobloch was hitting the panic button. John saying also, what's up, gentlemen? Because it's from earlier. I'm so jealous of the Florida Panthers. Fans swimming with the cup, drinking from the cup. I get it, bro. It's tough. You want your team to win, and we've been wanting them to win for a very long time. But it is what it is.
We're working our way there. We're working our way there.
Right.
I will say this, though, about McDavid. The Florida fans were giving it to him a lot when they were trying to present it to him. And I get it. And he did the respectful thing to the house. Okay, you guys are celebrating your cup, right? But you do go out. You do accept it. You do give a handshake. And then you go back to the locker room and be there for your teammates. Not doing that is a little disrespectful to Conn Smythe, in my opinion. I'm just saying, like, that lowered my opinion a little bit of a guy that, I get geeked up on. So
right.
Maybe I'm a little extra sensitive there. But I was like, you gotta face the music and just accept it with a humble smile, a handshake, and then walk away.
Right. Jim Binkle did say every other Conn Smythe winner like him came out to get the trophy. But I will say this, to put one little historical thing on that. When the Oilers beat the Flyers in 1987, Ron Hextall got the Conn Smythe. He did come out and accept it. But he did state multiple times the Conn Smythe didn't mean anything to him. Didn't mean a
Yes.
damn thing to them because they didn't win the cup.
And
the
that's
thing, too,
fine, but you come out and you just face the music, just like you're getting that interview in the locker room after the game. You know what I mean? That's what you do as a professional. He's butthurt right now, and I get it. You lost the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and I get it. I get the other side of this, but I don't think he meant it in any form of disrespect, because I think that he didn't want to overshadow anybody's moment for Florida because he felt like somebody else deserved it. So he was humble about it. It's not like he was just like, nah, screw that. I don't want it. Like, get it out of here. He was absolutely saying, hey, listen, this isn't about me. They won the cup. Bob should have won this. I shouldn't have won this because we didn't win. I didn't want to overshadow their moment, which I kind of respect. So, but like, I get both sides of it. I don't think it's meant in a disrespectful way.
Right.
But I can see how some people think that, but I don't think it was meant in any form of disrespect.
Chris saying you're preaching fire and brimstone tonight.
That's all the energy I have.
All right, guys. So we got to head on out. We thank everybody for joining us for another edition of Flyers Talk A2D. We thank
Real quick.
Brian,
Real quick.
Yes.
Shout out to the Hall of Fame inductees.
Oh,
Here's
okay.
your 2024 class. Players: Pavel Datsyuk, Jeremy Roenick,
Nice.
Shea Weber. Female players: Natalie Dorowitz, Chrissy Wendell-Pohl, and your GMs, your executives heading into the Hall of Fame: Colin Campbell and David Pouillet.
Nice.
Shout out to those guys. A well-deserved class.
Absolutely. That is a good class. You know, you have Shea Weber, you got David Pouillet, who deserves a lot for establishing expansion teams, actually.
Will Catherine Tappan be in his induction speech?
And of course,
You had to bring that up.
we have to give the love to good old Jeremy Roenick. That man never steered away from controversy. That man ate it up.
Never for a loss of words.
Nope. You ever wanted to know what Roenick was thinking? He'd be more than happy to tell you.
Do you think Craig Berube will be there?
I know Patrick Marleau won't. So
Womp womp.
yeah, all you got to do, if you're a Sharks fan, you know what I'm talking about. They do not like each other. But anyway, Priz, thank you, brother, and thanks everybody who chimed in today. We appreciate you guys. As I say a million times over, you are the lifeblood of A2D and this show. And of course, we are not going anywhere. Just because the cup got awarded does not mean we sign off. We will be continuing, as always, through the off season. We've got the draft coming up this Friday. We'll be talking about that next week. We'll talk about who the Flyers grab with their picks. And of course, through the rest of the offseason, we'll talk about the free agent signings. We'll talk about trade possibilities and whatever fun, silly, crazy things we might want to throw out there just because it's the offseason and we like to play it a little light during that time period. So, thank you to everybody. We'll see you next week. Bry's got to figure out how to de-energize himself. And we will see you guys next week for our draft recap. Until then, you stay safe, you stay healthy out there. Peace and love. We'll see you then.